testimony is behind us. And the very next morning, little did we know that Donald Trump was on the phone with the Ukrainian leader doing what appeared to be what was really related to that central question of the Mueller report, seeming to invite foreign interference in a U.S. election.
Ukraine seems an unlikely place as a battleground to imperil an American presidency, but that is exactly what happened in 2019.
It was, in a very real sense, the day President Trump's impeachment began.
You've never spoken publicly about what happened last year, but you wrote that Ukraine was a perfect example of Trump working for his own best personal interests. Explain.
He wanted a probe of Joe Biden in exchange for delivering the security assistance that was part of the congressional legislation that had been passed several years before. So that in his mind, he was bargaining to get the investigation using the resources of the federal government, which I found very disturbing.
It began with that phone call, the President of the United States to the President of Ukraine. Compliments, goodwill, then a request, a favor.
According to the transcript, the President says the following: I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it.
I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it.
There's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution. A lot of people want to find out about that.
The conversation that I had was absolutely perfect, and most people that have read it say the same thing.
The linkage between the military assistance and that opportunity to go after Joe Biden didn't emerge immediately. But I could see that the issue was there. He said it to me directly, that that's what he had in mind. And I'll say again, I think it was widely understood at senior levels in the government that that's exactly what his objective was.
Can you tell us who else understood that?
I think Secretary Pompeo understood, the Pentagon understood, intelligence community understood, people in the White House understood. The president wasn't shy in voicing the view of the Ukraine, that's what he wanted. It turned out not to be a convictable, impeachable offense, but it's something the American people ought to take a look at, as they should the other examples. He focused on terms like China buying more agricultural products, which he said to Xi Jinping directly would help him in the farm states. A really, to me, stunning statement by a president to the leader of an adversarial foreign country.
So you're saying that if the Democrats had looked at what you call a broader pattern of behavior, then there might have been a greater chance to persuade others that high crimes and misdemeanors had been perpetrated?
I think the example of Ukraine could well amount to it. As for the others, they require more investigation.
For Ukraine, almost $400 million in aid was frozen. Bolton says Trump told him directly it was waiting for an investigation of Biden's son and the Democrats.
August 20th comes a key conversation you had with President Trump about the security assistance. What exactly did the president say to you?
Well, he directly linked the provision of that assistance with the investigation.
The New York Times reported on that August conversation, and the president denied it, tweeting, I never told John Bolton that the aid to Ukraine was tied to investigations into Democrats, including the Bidens. Is the president lying?
Yes, he is. And it's not the first time either. I think it's important to get these kinds of facts out on the table. And I don't think President Trump really fears what foreign governments are going to read in the book. He fears what the American people are going to read.
The question was the president looking for a quid pro quo, this for that?
It was hotly denied by the president.
There was no quid pro quo. There was no quid pro quo.
There was no quid pro quo.
Please rise.
Many in Congress wanted to hear what Bolton had to say during Trump's impeachment.
Bolton has said that he would testify.
To have Ambassador Bolton testify under oath.
John Bolton has a relevant testimony.
And the Senate must have him testify as a witness.
This would have been the president's national security advisor, former national security advisor, would have been giving a firsthand account of his version of the facts.
But Bolton didn't speak.
You were a star witness to something the president was on trial for, something you say you now find deeply disturbing, possibly criminal, yet you felt no obligation at all to tell the American people about this, whether in testimony on the Hill or an interview or a statement or anything?
I was fully prepared if I got a subpoena. I think the way the House advocates of impeachment proceeded was badly wrong. I think it was impeachment malpractice.
You could have been that person providing that testimony.
And it would not have made any difference.
How can you say that?
Because
How do you know?
Because minds were made up on Capitol Hill.
But you're also saying, had they looked at, it was too narrow. They were just looking at Ukraine, and they should have looked at all these things that you're outlining in the book. If they didn't know about those things from you, how could they do that?
Because an impeachment process that was serious and not partisan, like Watergate, would have taken the time to cover all these areas. They failed utterly to accomplish what they wanted. In fact, they made things worse because their strategy fitted with the Trump political strategy. Keep it narrow and move it fast.
But now he is bringing it all out and getting paid for putting it in a book.
You could have told these stories when you were in the White House or when the impeachment trial was going on, and you chose instead to do it in a book.
Because I didn't think the Democrats had the wit or the political understanding or the reach to change what for them was an exercise in arousing their own base so that they could say, we impeached Donald Trump. The Democrats can pursue whatever policy they want. They don't dictate to me how best to bring this to the attention of the American people.
But you can certainly understand why your critics say, why didn't he come forward before? Why is he making a profit on this now?
You know, it has nothing to do with making a profit. It has everything to do with making sure that the constitutional responsibilities that are accorded the different branches of government are carried out the right way.
In his impeachment trial, President Trump was acquitted. Bolton by then no longer worked for his administration.
The House advocates said, we have proven Trump is impeached forever and that he'd learn a lesson from it. Absolutely 180 degrees the opposite of the truth. He didn't learn lessons from it other than that he could get away with it, which leaves only the last guardrail is the election this November.
Next.
He broke up with you.
If he wants to look at it that way, I resign.